It's August 18th, 2020, and you know why you're here. So let's kick this off right and introduce the players. Hey, I'm Gerissar, a PvP Padawan.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. I'm Andallyn, and this is episode 110, our BfA Esports, the final chapter. Ba-da-da-da. Right?
Ba-da-da-da-da.
So, guys, let us introduce, although he needs no introduction, but we have the excellent, corrupted, multiple gladiator, David Hollings over here joining us today from the WoW Esports team. David, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I really appreciate the invite to yet another podcast with Technically PvP. We did one, I don't even know how long ago it was, but you approached me again, and I think we scheduled this like a month in advance or something like that. Dude, there's been so much that happened between that. Oh.
Yeah, I think it was 2 months. We had to delay it again because the whole COVID. You guys had to rejig stuff and just.
Yeah.
Yes, but hey, you're back.
When there's a will, there's a way. I am back.
That's right.
I'm here.
Yes, man, I am so excited for you to see you here, and yes, we're all here except for Winstead. It seems like he has disappeared into the ether. I'm sure it's just he's super busy with his family as he normally is. So we're still waiting to find out where we can find Winstead. He may be in the middle of his garage trying to find his hat that apparently has been missing for several episodes now.
No. Yes.
We'll see. But in the meantime, we are going to hold down the fort and carry on to see what we can come down to. Well, actually, before we talk about where we can come down to, can we talk about what we've been up to since our last show? David, why don't we start with you, buddy?
Oh gosh, a lot. As you guys know, the AWC circuit is this weekend. That's one of many plugs that I'm going to be providing to that AWC circuit. But the preparation for it, we're just antsy. We've been making these player profiles. We've been making some trailers that have yet to be released.
Nice.
Lots of content on the horizon, and we have a much more fleshed out World of Warcraft esports team now, and we just have a lot of spinning plates that we're constantly running around and maintaining. But with all that happening, I just moved. I moved into a new place with my wife, and that's been incredible.
Congrats.
Thank you so much. Moving in COVID is weird, to say the least.
I feel you. Did the same.
Then before that, I went on a road trip. I actually drove to like NorCal to see some family, and we drove like 12 hours north and then 12 hours back.
That's a beautiful drive, isn't it?
Yeah, we drove on the coast, so we were able to see all the cliffs, the ocean, absolutely gorgeous. And we were in our new car that we're absolutely obsessed with. It's got like a glass roof, so we were able to see the stars at night when we were driving through the forest. And
wow!
Give it the shout out. Give it the shout out. The Tesla over here. Yeah.
The Tesla. Yeah, I bought a Model 3.
It's a beaut.
Highly recommend them. I'm a big car guy. If you didn't know that, I used to work at my brother's repair shop that was also a performance shop. So I worked with like a lot of performance vehicles. Turbos were like our go-to. We were an import shop. So we focused on DSMs and Subarus and various other four-bangers with a turbo. And I tried a Tesla for the first time. And even though I'm a really big petrol head, I was convinced.
Nice.
But yeah, that's what I've been up to.
Just out of curiosity, just because you're such, just because we talked before about some stuff, and I know how much you really enjoy the Tesla. Have you seen any of the videos of people that have stripped out Teslas and turned them through street racers?
Yeah, look, I think there's that one guy who's like really popular. He's got like a P95D or something, or he might even have like a P100. And he's just like rocking like a sports or like a skeleton chair, a bucket seat, and he's just going to the track and like destroying Hellcats. Yeah, dude. Yeah, heck yeah. I binged that for hours. I mean, it's beautiful. When I bought a Tesla, I couldn't not watch that content. You know.
Yeah, it was. I watched it and I was like, no way, no. And I was like, just every single car, he's just gone. It's like,
yeah.
I watched.
It's peculiar how clever the software is when it comes to traction. from the user interface, you press your pedal down and then it does everything else.
It's so
But
instant.
Yeah.
and that's the thing, is the torque is immediate. It's linear. So as soon as you press the pedal down, it feels like you just took off on a roller coaster. It's addicting, and I'm definitely going to get a ticket very soon.
You say, sorry, I was an autonomous driving officer. You'll have to give a ticket to my car. Yeah. Yeah.
I think the most amazing thing was sorry.
I was gonna say, the one thing that I have been commented on like multiple times is like, and people were actually irritated, is when they see the LCD screen in the middle of the console, they assume it's like a tablet that's mounted, and they're like, you can't do that. That's not allowed. I'm like, no, it's stock.
Yeah.
Don't shoot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
I remember watching Maldiva's video when he did the auto drive to I think New Jersey for like several hours, and he did like it was a quick straight. He like recorded the whole thing, and just blows me away. He's just every once in a while he goes, I'm only touching the steering wheel to let the car know I'm still alive.
Yeah. We did the
it'll beep at you pretty loud if you don't touch it after a while.
Yeah.
We rented one in or he rented one in Los Angeles when we were there for BlizzCon, and we did all the testing, because that was like all of our first time actually experiencing the Tesla, and it was incredibly memorable, and it's left me wanting one. I just don't think my budget or significant other would be very approving of that right now. So
fair enough.
Hey, it's okay. One day. That's right. So, but Gerissar, what you been up to, man? What about you?
Oh, excellent. So like David, actually, I also moved as well. So that's why the last episode there, Andallyn, you were out of town. I was stuck in a hotel room in quarantine. So that's why Winston was left to his own devices, holding down the fort for us. Since then, all my stuff arrived from almost the whole way across the country. And so I'm now living in a small town just outside our nation's capital in Canada. And awesome. So right now I'm on a micro desk. My full desk isn't put back together yet. I'm actually borrowing some of my wife's gear just to be able to do this. And hopefully by the next show, this will be better set up and actually look more World of Warcrafty like I did before, with some pictures of Horde and Alliance, preferably more Alliance than the Horde stuff. But you gotta represent both factions, unfortunately. So
do you though?
And other than that, I think I logged in just to do auction house stuff. Not this week. The week before, I actually got enough honor or conquest points to get my chest. But this week, I haven't even had a chance to. So, not even a chest this week.
Yeah. Did you really miss out, though?
I guess
you'll never know.
I'll never know. Honestly, it's he's a warlock, and he's an enchanter. So even if I get garbage green or garbage purples, I can still disenchant for the shards to.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, nice.
Oh, man. Anyways, okay.
You're
enough about. I'm not a min-max. Andallyn, what have you been up to?
So let's see, man. As you can tell by my lobstery red face, I'm a little sunburnt here. We've been working outside, building that retention wall. It's probably about a 150-foot retention wall, just of 80-pound stones. So I mean, it builds character, that's for sure.
It also breaks backs.
Yes, it also burns your skin, especially if you're a white Irish descent male like me. So, but otherwise, other than getting sunburnt and staying in the AC, I've been actually getting into something completely new. This is off of what I'm used to in my WoW experience, but me and a good friend of mine who's actually listening to us right now from work. Shout out to Peter.
Oh, cool.
What's up, Peter?
Hello, friend.
We have been gold farming, and our goal is long boy or bust. So
you were
we're
telling me
going
about
for
that.
at least one long boy, and right now we're about to crack our first mil gold in about 2 weeks. So we're like,
Oh my gosh.
crap, we need to kick up our game a little bit, but we're doing that. We're stepping up to the challenge, and we're going for that 5 mil dream. So it's been a lot of fun, and we've actually gotten to meet I have gotten to meet a lot of cool different people along the route who have been like, who are like, they're legit gold farmers. Like this guy's like he knows everything. He knows all the stuff. And we've had a fair amount of PvP in some of these gold farms too. So I feel like maybe it might be worthy of an episode one day or another. So,
but you're gold farming with war mode on? I respect that. It's pretty good.
So, yeah, we need to try like try it a little bit more, because we found that sometimes people are less inclined to go farm in war mode because they just don't want to deal with it. So we actually get sometimes you can get more kills or more availability of your farm if you have war mode on. But sometimes it's like, no, war mode off is actually better, because when you get a force spawn spot like what we've been doing, having more people killing the stuff just helps you get more mobs and more kills over time. So
I love that.
you're competing with mobs if you're not killing each other, at least.
This is interesting because the chat is responding to you. So I want to throw this out quickly to the chat as well as to our listeners at home. Hey, just listeners at home, if you can, every other Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, we record this live. We stream live on the Warcraft Radio Twitch stream. But I'm asking you, when you're out farming for mats, do you do it with war mode on or war mode off? I'm really curious. I'm seeing a few people in chat saying that they do it, so I'm interested.
Nice.
I suspect that our listeners likely do it with war mode on more than war mode off. Just saying.
That's right.
98% of my mats are from lock boxes from Arena. That's
actually a solid farm. It's the best Echoes farm right now.
Yeah, that's all I've been farming for is Echoes.
I was blown away. I was like, wait, hold on a second. PvP is the best way to get something?
Yes. It has.
This is awesome.
So, actually, that's not the first time that PvP has been the best way to get a currency before. I would say.
Yeah,
but
true.
I'm glad they did it.
It seems like it, yeah. It still has that that new car smell. You know what I mean? To stay in our lane here of our topics.
You lost me there for a second, but I'm back on track. Okay. I do have. Sorry, this is going to be a little bit off topic though. But before I forget, I need to ask on behalf of Belle. She needs to ask David. Belle needs to know how he tacos during tourneys.
Whoa. How do I taco during tourneys?
Yeah.
That's confidential, truthfully.
All right.
I don't even know what that means. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Beef supreme.
I like all types of tacos. If you're a Taco Bell connoisseur like myself, a Baja Blast, cheesy gordita crunch, and a chalupa, and you're good to go.
I go for the 2 chalupa, but I could get down with some cheesy gordita crunches.
I just like to mix it up, you know. They taste
definitely
almost exactly the same to me, but it's a little bit you can say funner words when you're in the drive-thru if you have 2 things to say.
Sure.
That's the strat.
Oh, nice.
Chalupa.
I never considered that. All right. Well, let's move on to the rest of the show instead of derailing completely like we already have. Let's move on to our need, greed, and pass.
This likely won't be
I remember this.
clean for it. So keep your distance, Sally!
Alrighty, let's move right on in.
Let's do this. So, just to remind the listeners, so in this segment, one of the hosts is going to pose a scenario with 3 options related to WoW. The participants need to decide which option they will need, which they will greed, and which they will pass. So let the hilarity commence as we decide what we will need, greed, and pass. And don't forget, folks, if you're listening live in chat, play along, and same at home, send in your answers. So, Andallyn, you're You're the person in charge this weekend. This week,
I know.
what
I
do
feel
you-
like
what
I
do you got?
got back to back. I mean, technically Winstead had last week, but I wasn't there,
The
so
semantics.
yeah, just to say really. But that's okay. I like being able to do this, so it's my favorite segment. So, all right. So, in case, well, no, we won't even go there. Everyone knows about the whole gem catastrophe slash what's going on slash drama right now. So what we're going to be talking
I
about
hope
in
people
this week's Need Greeter Pass is we're going to get rid of scaling in the hidden scaling in the game. All right, and you're giving 3 options. You are going to have to need, greed, or pass on all 3 of these. Only one for each. So option number 1, we could go back to our PvP templates for each individual, and everyone can be on an even like level playing ground. Even playing field. So that would be like just for to kind of give you guys in chat a little bit but more of an idea of this if you haven't already experienced this in your World of Warcraft careers. But you would have a template that was essentially that would fluctuate just a little bit based off your item level, and it would allow you to not necessarily be like, man, I don't have any gear, I can't queue for arenas. But if you did have gear and you put the time and you put the work in, you'd have a little bit extra power, but it wouldn't be like, oh man, this guy is just railing me. All right? That's option number 1. Option number 2 is we can have a separate PvP stat or stats, such as resilience or PvP power. It does not have to be those stats per se, but if you do need on this, I want to know what stats, even if it's a brand new stat, that you would like to see. Okay?
Okay.
Option number 3 is you can have a PvP progression of your power that scales based on how much you PvP. Okay? So take a second, mull over what you think here.
I'm already ready, man.
Chat, let me know what you guys are thinking. We'd love to hear what you might have in mind here. There's a fair amount of flexibility with like, you know, what kind of progression that might look like. If that's going to be a really large progression, if that's going to be just a small progression, what would make you want to need it over something else. So, David, you're rearing and ready, dude. Let's hear it.
I'm ready, dude. So the first one you mentioned, which was like the stat templates, I struggle with that because by all intentions, it's a good one. It's trying to provide accessibility and a better experience for the newer players coming in who might not be at the higher echelon. And when you're in the arena, it adds a little bit more emphasis to individual skill and ability, and less about the, for all intents and purposes, the MMORPG aspect of your character in the arena specifically. But at the same time, it adds a complexity that is difficult for people to theory craft. It's difficult for people to understand what their stats are actually accomplishing. And, I come from a community of super high level players in these tournaments who, they're the hardest of hardcore. If they don't fully understand how the system works, they're not happy about it. So it's tough. That's a tough one. But I think that, because you correct me if I'm wrong, you said that I can choose any PvP stat or any stat period, right?
Yes.
For the
it
second
could be
one?
any stat that's existed or your own stat, whether it's like whatever you want to call it.
You know what I'd want to bring back? I'd want to bring back haste. And I'd want to bring back haste that actually reduces globals again. And that would be the stat that I would choose, and I would need on that. I actually think that would be a huge game changer. With that being said, I'd probably greed the template system because I think that there's some other ways that we can increase accessibility to players. I think that there's ways that we can there's ways that we can make it less atrocious for them to get crushed and maybe like get their feet wet into the waters. See the fun parts of arena, and then because there seems to be a ludicrous learning curve for arena right now, where you queue up if you never PvP'd or if you never like played arena before even, It could be, a rude awakening of awareness of crazy amounts of chaos, and especially for new healers, it's insanely intimidating. So I think that I want to continue to. I'd want them to feel more able to learn the game at a slower pace, but I think there's other ways to do it other than stat templates, which is why I'm greeting it and not needing it.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one, which I'm passing on, was the PvP power, I think, right? Was that it? Or is
just
that
the
stats
progression?
one?
It would be like you would gain more power in instanced PvP by actually playing PvP.
And I want to pass on that one, and the biggest reason I want to pass on that one is because I want my PvE homies to come over to PvP and try it more and see why we love it so much. Because I'm convinced that if people were able to get past that learning curve, they would like it too. So that's my answer.
Very nice. I like it. Gerissar, you thinking along the same type of wavelength here, or would you be greeting with something else?
This is tough, buddy. This is tough.
You want me to go? You want some more time?
No. So the three options was so progression based power was the third one. A PvP specific stat like PvP power resilience was the other one, and the first one was templates with. Just templates?
Just templates. Everyone's a level playing field.
Okay.
So there is a lot of granularity to a template, as you can imagine, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's big quotes there.
So I'll say this. Oh man. Okay, so I love the template because it put everybody on. Like, all you had to do was just increase your eye level, and your template went up. And then there wasn't any crazy, like you happen to get that drop or you got fed that trinket from a raid. You didn't buy a run on a mythic raid to get that OP trinket to do whatever.
That's a good point. Yeah.
It wasn't any of that funky stuff. I love that about templates. It was your skill with a little bit of an edge based on your eye level. So if you were able to do mythic raiding, if you're able to do high-end PvP and get your eye level up, you had that slight edge, but that was it. Everything else was skill. I absolutely loved that. That said, the idea of actually having power based on progression is extremely satisfying, and being able to do mythic and raiding, not buy it, but actually do it and succeed at it and get those niche stuff that really kind of gives you that edge is also satisfying. So I'm going to go on the edge here. I'm going to say I'm going to need on progression-based power. I like the idea that if I have put in the time and got the progression and got that higher end CR, that I can do better in the game, because really that's what this game is all about.
Mm-hmm.
As much as it sucks facing these people, I've been there. It gives you something to attain. You have something to look forward to. And
but it's PvP specific, right? So you only PvP to get only PvP power.
Exactly. So it's but I would say that if you're going to do that progression based power has to bleed or work outside of just PvP as well. Because you have to also be successful. Instance PvP is only a section of the game. There's so much more to the game as well. So I'd say that if you're going to do that, it definitely has to work outside of instance PvP. But I think that's valid, because like I remember I don't know how many times, like, even when I was in vanilla, I was running around as a newbie warlock, and some guy would walk past me, another warlock, and he'd cast Shadow Bolt, and things would just dissipate in front of me. I'm like, what? How did you do that? It takes me like 3 spells before I get that. And then I found out why, and I was like, okay, now I know what to attain. Now I know what. And so I think if somebody has worked that far into CR to get that progression, that they should also benefit the power of that. And if obviously
you're mixing CR into the mix there. I want to preface that you could play thousands of games, but it doesn't necessarily mean you have that CR.
Fair enough, but that's what progression is, right? Like if you're able to progress and you get 2700 CR, should you not, instead of just having 475 gear, should you not get 470 gear but have like a little niche bonus because you or get up to 3,000 that you get that little extra, right?
That's a good question.
I think that's valid.
Yeah. So progression could also be like a skill tree, though. So it doesn't necessarily have to be rating-based progression.
Okay.
And I mean,
well, in that case,
this isn't something that I would prefer. I mean, I'm not going to start my answer. But...
I would prefer it would be CR based, because if it's just progression based, then that's just a matter again of people being able to put in the time. So the people that are able to sit for 18 hours in front of the computer and then let the bot play for the other 6 hours are able to farm the currency or farm whatever to get the progression in the skill tree. And then you're also going to have the people that are going to complain about how it's time gated based on, because the only way to defeat that is time gating, which Blizzard does all the time, to stop that. And then you're gonna have time. So I would rather have it CR based. CR based in its own way is time gating at its best, because you have to consistently continue to win at greater than a 50% rate in order to continually grow your CR over time. It is the most perfect time gating. You have to put the time in, you have to put in the effort, and you have to show the skill. So I'd say that's my need. I'm going to do progression-based power. That's my need. Templating is going to be my greed. I loved the template idea. I disliked that. I personally felt that some of the templates were misguided and could have been better. The stat weights could have been better appropriated for classes and specs. But that's a whole other discussion. Yeah. But that's easily tweakable. But I love the fact that everybody was even level, and it was just based again on eye level, right? So then, and the other part to that is then if I had a new piece of gear with a higher eye level, it wasn't but is it the right stats? Oh no, that's a crit mastery, and I want haste mastery, so that's actually a downgrade. So I'm going to keep this, this 470 piece instead. Yeah, that's a big deal. Right. Yeah. And then the PvP stat, I always felt that was another comp. It was easy to understand in that if I get more of this stat, but then you're taking a crappier piece of gear because it has. So now you have that crit mastery piece when really you want, let's say, haste mastery, because crit is or maybe crit is good, whatever, right? I don't care. But you have crappy stats, tertiary stats, but because you have that PvP stat, that's better. It has more PvP, X, Y, Z, whatever. You can actually want to equip an actually crappier piece of gear just because it has a little bit more of that stat. That seems contradictory in my mind. I think you would rather want to get the gear that has the stats, the core stats, and not just worry about one extra stat that's only good for PvP. Because
is that a requirement for that stat, by the way? My haste example might be invalid. Then.
No, it's not a requirement.
So going back to before WOD, so let's say during MOP, right?
Mm-hmm.
People you would take a piece of gear that had crappier tertiary stats just because it had more of the, what was it at the time? Resilience at the time?
PvP power, I think.
PvP power? Yeah, you take more PvP.
Yeah,
it'd have more PvP power. So you'd actually worsen yourself in PvE by taking a crappier piece of gear that way, just so you could do more. So now actually, again, you're back to the whole thing where you have 2 or 3 different sets of gear in your bags.
Yeah, and I'm experiencing the same type of thing now. Like, because I've been gearing up a warrior, and because I'm thinking, dude, warrior is going to be so much fun in Shadowlands. We'll talk about that another time, though. I'm super amped about some warrior right now. But
I don't know. DK's looking pretty sweet.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I've been experiencing that same type of thing where it's like, okay, I just loaded up on Friday on a bunch of Versatile 3. I mean, it's going to go away in a little bit, but whatever. I'm going to have fun for the next 3 weeks, so, get off me. But, at the same time, I could have loaded up on some Expedient and just rocked through some PvE content, and I could have just been shredding. But because I'm deciding to go the versatile route and stack that versatility on my gear, it's that same type of thing where I'm like, crap, now I need almost a second set of PvE gear because one, I need to be able to balance the corruption resistance for one, but you know, I don't have the right type of options of stats that I need that's going to benefit me in PvE that's not necessarily benefiting me in PvP and vice versa. So
Yeah.
that's the same type of thing that I've experienced here now too. But so
Yeah.
what I'm thinking, I'm going to need actually on the PvP progression option. So I think it'd be really cool as if you could actually start to imbue your gear and weapons as you played Arena or you played Battlegrounds. And maybe like for every honorable kill within a Battleground or an Arena, you could, or just by winning in I don't know, there'd have to be a way to make one not way better than the other, but you could essentially get like a stack of blood-soaked gear or a stack of blood-soaked on your gear. And I haven't really decided yet if it'd be better to have like, after like 100 blood soaks, you get a 1 item level or like a 5 item level increase or something on your gear. So that way if it's like, you know, I got this piece of gear, but I like it, it's got good stats, I could grind it up to being able to make it, you know, a better piece of gear because it's got blood-soaked stacks in it. Or I could opt to say, hey, actually, this pair of boots that just dropped is actually this is better, or this is like, oh, this is exactly, now I don't have to grind this piece of gear anymore. I think it'd be a neat interaction and a neat kind of pick and choice, risk reward type of play style where people are like, do I want to invest the time to, you know, go down this route, especially if they want to take a route where PvP isn't exactly the best method to gear your character. So that's what I would need on just as like a PvP progression type of thing. And I would I would grade on the stat templates. I really like the stat templates in the sense that, just like what you said, Gerissar, I liked it when everyone's on a level playing field. I really liked that you could hop on an alt or something like that, and you know you could play without having to worry about, crap, man, I'm 430 item level. I really can't do anything. We're just not really gonna have a fun time now. Even though we're good players, or like we may try really hard or have the most heart in playing, it's going to be way more difficult because everyone's going to be 40 item levels higher than us. So I'm going to agree on the stat templates.
Good luck being 475 but don't have a Drustgath trinket or spite, and don't have conflict and strife,
your corruptions,
third tier, and all that, and versatility corruption up the wazoo. Exactly. You're dead. I get it. And
then I'll probably just pass on the last one, the PvP power resilience, because like I said, I just don't like having two different sets of gear. But go ahead, man.
I see like a trend in all of our answers where it is like, to a certain extent, we're kind of salty about the accessibility of preparing your character for competitive arena currently. And a lot of, and like we all don't want to just throw away and go to the extreme route of removing the MMORPG from PvP entirely. We like the progression, we like powering up our character, but I think we all just kind of want to find a different harmony, a better harmony between, you know, the progression and competition.
I'm not going to lie. Towards the Cup 4, I was actually tempted to try to sign up just to get onto Tournament Realm and just to
test it out.
Just to actually know what it feels like to have all that gear, all those trinkets, everything you need, and just make it work, and then be like, okay, now what can I do when I actually have the same stuff as all these other people?
But that's the thing, though, and this might be a precursor to some other discussions about all this the gemming drama that's going on. But when you have all of the gear, but everyone else has all of the gear too, and you're on a completely equal playing field, it's not what you would imagine, and especially with all the templates that's going on live right now and how they bring opponents closer to each other. The numbers feel weird. I obviously have access to the Tournament Realm, and I've done lots of testing myself, but it wasn't as satisfying as it's been in years past. Like, I remember going on the Arena Pass being severely undergeared because back in the day you had to have a certain rating to buy certain gear.
Yep.
I just never was able to achieve that rating as a youngin, and so I was just always stat deprived until I went on to the tournament realms, and I was like, whoa, I'm actually not as bad as I thought. Haha. Yeah, it's weird. It's interesting, and most importantly, not necessarily good. Importantly, it's complicated.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
A little too.
Okay. Do we want to just keep talking about this, or do we actually talk about the? I don't want to just keep talking about this stuff.
Well, yeah. Let's talk about the gyms for a little bit, because there was a recent, kind of revelation that came out in the World of Warcraft community, as a lot of people know already, about how people were doing some testing, and as you would equip more sockets, so if you equipped gems that gave you versatility, or really for any gem for that matter, what people would find is that the hidden scaling of the game actually results in yields you actually doing less damage
hold on.
by putting more sockets.
Let's roll this back for a sec. Okay, so let's admit the fact. So BfA has been around for 2 years now.
Right.
When BfA first launched, the developers removed the template that was put in Legion, and they said they put it into the background. So there's a scaling to help players who have less gear not feel as stomped on, because the developers looked ahead and saw what the gear
deprivation,
the separation in gear level was going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
And so they decided to put in this hidden scaling in the background where it would change what the numbers were actually on the server level. So if you're a lower item level, you would receive less damage but do more damage, if you're depending on what the disparity was in the gear level of the person you're PvPing.
I think here, let me, if I may. There's a beautiful definition by Wowpedia. If you are super interested in educating yourself on the PvP scaling, I think Wowpedia is actually one of your best sources. And the definition is, it adjusts the PvP scaling is a PvP mechanic introduced in Battle for Azeroth. It adjusts the damage dealt to enemy players as well as healing to friendly players while engaged in PvP combat to partially compensate for gear item level differences between players. It is only applied to players between levels 110 and 120. It is intended to reduce the power gains acquired from gear in PvP, but not completely negate it. That's their definition of it.
Right.
And perfectly worded. And so people were trying to figure out what that actually was for the longest time. People were
they still are.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think it's gotten more confusing now.
Yeah. Like there was people that were taking off mythic rating gear and putting on greens because they found they were doing more damage.
Yep, I remember.
They were doing more, and there was that. And then so this is again continuously this keeps popping up, and most recently it culminated in a player who has done a bunch of testing. His name Reynard, I think was his name.
I can't remember. I'm sorry. I know Venricky did a video on it too.
Rex Troy. So, if I remember correctly, he was the guy who walked around and was one-shotting people. I think, if I'm not mistaken. So then, naked one-shots using PvP scaling. And then there's another one. Yeah, I think he was wearing like, and this guy that was there's another one. There's another video of a person that was 0 to 100 or 100 to zeroing people. Just wearing greens with a bunch of versatility.
Probably Azerite.
Yeah, and there's all that stuff, and it was great. So then he did this video where he showed using sockets and putting in versatility. The dark opals, the epic ones, the best ones, is when he put those gems in, his damage taken and damage dealt. So he actually took more damage. And his damage dealt was reduced when he added versatility, which is supposed to actually do the opposite. It's supposed to increase the damage you do and decrease the damage you take. So it was actually working opposite because of how scaling was. So then Venricky did his own video as well. I remember, I think I saw some tweets. Super Tees jumped in saying how for Resto Shaman, though, it did work. there was another person that was saying how no, it doesn't. Yeah. Again, it creates this whole turmoil of what's what.
Right.
I think
Because I mean, like, in all of these videos, it's a pretty limited amount of testing in correlation to how many variables actually are involved in the scaling. Because it's not just your own individual character; it's also the characters that is interacting with you. So if the character that is interacting with you is lower item level or high item level, it might change all of this. And so not only to thoroughly test it, do you need to change your own gear out, you need to change your opponent's gear out. And it gets really, really confusing. And so I remember when the green gear with sockets in particular were running rampant, and then they made some nerfs. And then that kind of went away. I was really sad when it went away because I was watching Peekaboo play Sub Rogue with full greens, and I'm like, yes, accessibility, I can play too. And I was just buying. I spent like 350,000 gold on like greens with sockets in them, and it got nerfed like the day I bought it.
Man, I should have been farming those.
That actually makes me sad, buddy. You got the inside tracking, then it would.
I don't leverage the inside. Dude, it's spoilers, you know? Like, I don't know. And not only that, I have the biggest mouth ever. If I really have the inside scoop on what's happening in the game specifically, it's bad news. So I deliberately avoid that. I avoid that.
Yikes.
But yeah,
Adrian, my DMs, let me know, man.
Just hit your itch. You can tell somebody.
He's my go-to. Healing Sat is like the best theory crafter I know when it comes to a lot of this stuff.
Nice.
He's a wizard.
Yeah.
He looks like a wizard.
He blows me away.
It's peculiar. Peekaboo actually brought up a really good testing recommendation, which was like he wanted someone to like unequipped or like remove sockets, like remove gears with sockets of it, play a queuing session and like get averages from his details, and then queue up again with the sockets and get averages with the details. And that way you're getting averages of people with a similar like gear as you and whatnot. And I think that would be a pretty cool way to do it. I'm curious if like the sockets actually got affected by all that green gear that was OP back in the day. I wonder if like maybe that was scaled weirdly. But Raikou, one of the pro players who he's one of the reigning world champions, he actually tweeted as well, where he did some testing on his Frost Mage, specifically on the Tournament Realm, and the damage increase was about 8% more, which is pretty close to the 10% that he should have been getting with versatility. And who knows who his opponents were. But they're on Tournament Realm, so they should have their full sockets too. So I've seen both. I don't think it's like if you equip sockets, you're doing worse. I really don't. I think that if you are a high echelon player who's like 2,700, like Peekaboo, for example, and well, he's like 3K, but you know what I'm saying. And like you're facing other 2,700s who have full gems because they have ludicrous amounts of visions done because, you know, they're taking it seriously. You're probably going to see a net gain, to be honest with you. Though the fact, my whole qualm with this whole situation is that even my most hardcore players don't know for sure.
Right.
You know, and that's really where I think that it's frustrating because it's an MMORPG. Theory crafting is a huge part of it, and obviously I'm a hardcore fan of it, so I'm not necessarily a casual. So when it comes to like theory crafting on the hardcore level, this is kind of a hindrance.
Yeah, I think what further muddies the waters is the fact that something we haven't talked about yet too in this hidden scaling is how the scaling is kind of manifested in the way where if you cast Fireball on somebody, the damage that you see in your combat log does not equal the damage that they see in their damage taken. Exactly. So it further muddies the waters to be like, wait a second, what? Yeah. So that's what also kind of provides a huge cloud of like mystery almost that is never reassuring.
It almost feels like you're getting manipulated a little
bit. Like man,
it is. That's exactly
what I mean.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I saw a big number, but their health didn't move. It's interesting. I see players like Waz, they just turn their numbers off. Yeah. They just look at the health bar that they're chunking down.
Yep.
Might as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
I mean that the percentage of their health going down is not going to be biased towards numbers. It's going to be very, accurate to what you're doing to them.
Mhm.
And that's
Exactly.
really what the competitors care about.
See, but,
100%.
but the
0%.
mathematical.
I win when that reaches 0.
See, but the mathematical me says, well, if he's at 100%, if it says one, number, if it says on my screen that I did 15k in DPS or damage, but it says on his screen that I did 10, is his health 10k less or 15k less?
yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
So I guess this has been resolved though, but I guess it's what's actually shown on their screen is what.
I don't know if it's been resolved per se. Like I wouldn't be surprised if a change hits, to be honest with you. But what I would say is that I empathize with those who like try-harded, did hundreds of visions, got all their full gems, and then they hear this news where it's not that big of an impact, or maybe even hurting them in some situations. In every situation, it shouldn't hurt you. It should only benefit you, and I totally get that, and that does suck for them. I have to say, but I don't think it's nearly as bad as our gut reaction. I think like when I first saw that, I was like a little excited because I haven't gotten any gems yet, and I'm like, I never want to do it. Sorry for swearing. I really don't want to do more visions.
Time mark at okay, got it.
There you go.
But at the same time, like, I get it.
The two things that come to my mind is I am betting that most of this testing is happening in dueling with live gear, which is kind of wishy-washy on its own.
I know that Rookies was on the tournament realm.
Okay, so tournament realm, that's awesome because at least everybody's there. I really hope that'll, because I remember seeing a lot of stuff before. People were like, "Oh, I was dueling with my buddy and we compared numbers and everything." It's like, well, yeah, but he had some greens, you had some blues. Yeah, exactly.
Procs, Azerite procs.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I'd rather people did like just do war games and do it do the tournament setting where everybody gets normalized. And
not only that, but don't even pay attention to your gear and the variables of your gear, but also pay attention and make sure that your opponent is wearing a high amount of gear. And if you're using like a low amount of gear and they're not a high item level, and every and they say this in Wowpedia, every single time that you add a gem to your gear, it basically increases your PvPI level. Right. And so whenever you're doing that, if your opponent has 0 gems in their gear, their item level is going to be drastically lower than yours if you have full gems in your gear.
Right.
So makes sense.
I would love to see even more testing, but it's one of those things where the thing that I really want to see is just a little bit more simplicity and maybe even clarity in Shadowlands.
Yeah, absolutely.
Me too.
I think clarity is really that main thing. Yeah.
This is what I would like to see. Assuming that obviously I think the system is going to get revamped. I think there's going to be something different in Shadowlands. I hope so. I haven't seen anything otherwise.
I don't spoil myself, man. Don't look to me.
So no. So okay. This is my thought.
Yeah.
Because there's always iterations. I'm assuming there's going to be something new in Shadowlands. That's just my own That's my own partial bias on the situation. I actually don't know. I haven't tested anything. I don't know. But assuming that iteration is going to cause something, there's going to be something new. Because this has been so controversial, because it has been so hidden, and it morphs, like there's no way to know exactly what's happening. It's not as simple as going out, hitting the test dummy, shooting a dummy, and getting the numbers, and then figuring out what, reverse. You can't reverse engineering this. Right.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and because like we were all just talking about stat templates, and this is not far from stat templates, and it's like I imagine the intentions of this were to decrease barrier to entry for people,
totally,
and which we're all for. It's just I think that I think like clarity and just like we want to understand it, and
that's I think they should release it. I think they should let it. I think they should say, okay, here's the formula.
Essentially.
The WoW PvP or the PvP scaling on Wowpedia, I believe they cracked the code. But like you say, even if you understand it fully, taking into consideration and tracking every variable that affects it is it's a steep task.
Yeah.
And not to mention, like, then once you do have it figured out with no Azerite traits and with no gems, add some procs to that. Add
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
on-use trinkets. Add some Azurite traits, and God knows how many we
Oh,
have
yeah.
of those now. Like this is, and some of those Azurite traits are affected
Mhm.
differently in PvP versus others. Like for example, there was a
Right.
minor Azurite trait that increases your secondary stat. It's like a minor. Your
Yep.
highest secondary stat, when I put it on, it increases my mastery, and my versatility is like 10% more than my mastery. So I'm like, okay. So I mean, there's just the amount of variables at the end of BfA that we have to track to try to
Mhm.
break down this math is, even with the formula in front of us, it's tough.
Yeah,
Super
sounds like
complex.
simplicity would
Super
be good for
complex.
maybe all parties involved, devs included. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can't imagine
Yeah.
that this is not turning their hair gray too.
Yeah,
For
absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't seen what Holinka looks like in the last year and a half.
Follow him on
so-
Instagram. Follow Holinka on Instagram. He posts workout selfies like every day. That dude is
I
an
know.
inspiration.
Swolinka.
He is.
Swolinka.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's move on.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some other inspirations in our upcoming PvP WoW events.
Oh yeah, my brother.
Let's do
I love it.
Did I interrupt like a segment change?
No,
Like a
so
music
we
change?
do throw the sounders in, but I actually dodged you that time. So I waited for you to finish, and then I soundered. So
I am your
So
segment
far,
we're
change.
good. That's right.
It's okay. I go back in afterwards and I just redo them all anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so speaking about redos, let's talk about. So Dalaran Gaming continues to do his 5v5 1v1s, which we talked about last time.
Shout out
Love
to
this
them.
guy. Totally. Flark is still doing his 3v3 tournaments. Again,
Heck
you
yeah.
have to go over to his Discord and pay attention to those, because it seems about the only place where he announces those. They're really amazing. Again, you don't need to sign up with a group. You just sign up by yourself. He will
That's really
he
cool.
will randomize the groups, and it's really fun. There's been some amazing tournaments out of it. It's been really fun to watch. Then there's the Ready Raider is doing another classic 3v3 tournament. This is going to start on the 30th of August. So by all means, I put in the Reddit. The Reddit post is on or in the show notes.
Mhm.
Go check it out. In there, you'll find their Discord. This time, they're gonna do. So what they did is the last time they did it, they had groups of people. They went into a battleground using the war game mode on Classic, and then they had people. So I think they did. If I remember correctly, they did. It was Wrathy Basin, and then the team of threes would meet at Blacksmith, just on the road there, and they'd just battle there, and it was really cool.
Wow.
So this time they're going to do the same thing. They're going to do Warsong Gulch and Wrathy Basin for maps. It's going to be 3v3. You're allowed to LOS, so it's going to be around the building. You just can't go
Whoa.
inside the building.
It's like World PvP 3v3.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
it's going to be
cool.
awesome. I highly recommend it. So if you play Classic, if you want to join, sign up. It's going to be a blast. I think they're doing $3,000 prize pool
Yes,
again.
that's
for this.
correct.
Wow. Holy
Yeah.
crow. Yeah, that's awesome,
So-
dude.
I know,
actually
right?
didn't know about that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's awesome.
Surprise.
Classic, I've handed off to Adrian when it comes to Classic. That's over my head, man. I started in like late Classic.
It's for the
BC,
big
so.
brains, man. It really is.
It is. It's so yeah, it should be really good. I'm wondering if Ven and Zico are going to sign up this time again.
I know Ven and Zico have been talking about playing in a 3v3 tournament a lot, but there's a couple of them though, isn't there? I think Tips is also having a 3v3 tournament or something. So I don't know.
I thought Tips was just doing his Duelers League. I'll be on. Okay,
Maybe
so
it's that. I don't
listeners,
know.
I'm
I just
sorry.
hear mentioning it on stream.
Yeah, I've been super busy. I haven't really been following what Tips is doing. I'm sorry. So hey
How dare
listeners,
you.
if you know something, let me know. All right, let us know. And then oh yeah, so starting this weekend and following on, there's some other tournaments going on. Blizzard's running them. I really don't follow it. I don't know. So I mean, if you guys know what's going on for the next few weeks, let me know as well. I think Blizzard's doing something. That's about it.
Something.
Okay.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Wait, is that my segue to talk about it?
I was about to. So obviously the Arena World Cup final circuit is going to start this weekend. We've been talking about this for the last several episodes, and this is going to be a 4-weekend circuit. Round robin or Swiss? Remind me.
It is round robin.
Round robin. Okay.
Yeah. Swiss is interesting, but not this time. Not this time.
Okay, so we're doing round robin, which is even more interesting because you guys have never done that before.
Never.
And then the culmination of the points earned through this round robin is going to determine who goes to the actual EU and NA finals near the end of September. And that's going to culminate in who gets some sweet loot and some sweet monies.
Medals.
IRL loot. Yes.
IRL loot. Yeah, and the medals are super, super cool. If you follow the Arena World Championship, you know that we give away the Guardians. It's the Dark Guardians that you see on the other side of your login screen. We would normally give those away, but because COVID happened and we transitioned from from LAN to online only, we decided that if the format's changing so much, the reward should too. And so each competitor that gets first, second, or third in their respective region will receive a beautiful medal. And so these are them right behind me right here.
Yeah, I was gonna say you tweeted about those.
I did.
Can you?
You want me to show this?
Yeah, showcase it. Let's see it.
All right, I will. I'll ASMR for the people listening.
That's for our sub only, David. You can't do that right now.
So there it is. It's a beautiful piece of art.
That's awesome.
That is amazing.
Our art team, the World of Warcraft actual art team, helped us with this, and so it's obviously the official logo right in the middle. You have the place at the top, so this is for the first place. It's the gold medal, and that is for North America specifically. So this is the North American first place. There's a European first place, second, and third as well. You see Nazas' beautiful tentacles wrapped around it. Wanted to make it
amazing.
It's very specific to the current. It's not full corrupted, obviously, but it's a little corrupted.
So my only question is that the versatility amp, or are we gonna have to cleanse that and go to Mother and get some better?
These are dead appendages, so this is already cleansed. Mother actually turned it into gold already.
Nice.
All right.
The runes around it are actually the same runes that you might find on your box, your WoW box.
Oh.
I don't know if you ever noticed, but I actually have a bunch of these right here. I've been collecting these. Shout outs to Kyle Hartline. Thank you for helping me find some of these. But you know how this is the Cataclysm art box. You see how there's runes that surround it?
Yeah.
Those same runes are what surround the medals.
Nice.
Those are the same ones. Are those the same ones on the desk that were on the rim of the desk?
Good eye. Yes, they are.
Okay.
And the back is super cool too. It's got a W with a globe.
Oh, nice.
And more runes. So it's not just like a flat back. It's
like it. I like it a lot. Can you send me a copy of one of those? Just asking. No.
A copy? What does that mean? Oh, you want? I'll send you like a flat piece of paper with a picture of it on.
Yeah, sorry, this is what the printer sped out. So.
There's only one way to get one of these, man.
Yeah.
I know,
it's competing in the circuit.
Yeah, but
and winning. Yeah.
I get scared.
And winning.
Yeah.
First, second, and third are no easy tasks. So obviously they're going to have to go through this round robin. And so the teams that after facing every single team in their region, that's top 8. So every major competing team, you then have to go into a double elimination bracket, and you need to win at least one time to get third place. So you have 5 teams of grinding
in the double elim
to get this.
Yep. Yikes.
What'd you say, Andallyn?
Sorry, it's 4 teams in the double elimination bracket?
Yep, only the top 4 of North America and the top 4 of Europe will be going to the finals at the end of September.
Got it.
Oh my god, that is going to be some tough competition.
And the amount of teams that we chose that goes to the finals is deliberate, and the reason for that is because half of the amount of teams that make it into the circuit go on to the finals, which means that probably, depending on how it shakes up, every single game is going to matter. Yeah. Every single series, even going into the last week, week 4, I'm under the impression that there's a significant amount of scenarios where teams are going to be fighting for their qualification lives that final week because half of them go and move forward and half of them get disqualified.
So is every series still going to be best of 5?
Every series is still going to be best of 5. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
And then it's going to be best of 7 for the grand finals, the grand finals.
The grand finals of each region. Yep. So we're going to have, I think, don't quote me on this, but we're going to have one region per day. So I think Europe is Saturday and North America is Sunday on the last weekend of September.
That's what I saw, the 26th and the 27th.
Nice.
So.
Yep.
I like it.
Sweet.
Dude, this is going to be incredible. I'm so excited for this.
So I'm just wondering, so what was the thought process? What was the discussion behind, okay, COVID just hit, LAN probably isn't going to happen. Okay, what are we going to do? Normally we do this. Now we have to not do that. Traveling isn't going to be available.
Yeah.
I remember that time. Run me through it.
That was a terrifying time, I'll tell you what.
I can imagine.
Okay, well, honestly, the circuit didn't necessarily come to fruition. My OK Google is turning on for some reason, recording me. I don't like that.
Okay, Google.
It's interesting.
The circuit didn't come. Yeah, it's scary. I don't know how it caught OK Google out of what I just said. So, it did it again. Okay,
because you said it. Yeah.
Okay. I've been a really big proponent of a round robin for years now. In 2014, I went to my very first LAN. I got to meet Brian Holinka and Jared Colston, and I totally stand over them. And it was in the basement of the Bernstein Ballroom. It was like a venue in New York City. It's actually pretty well known, but I'm a nerd. I don't go outside, so I have no idea what it's called. And Hearthstone was upstairs, and WoW Arena was in the basement. And so the practice areas that players actually competed at were where they played, practiced at, was also quote unquote the stage. So it was just like the small little area where there wasn't any player cams or anything like that. And so I actually sat in the front row where I actually could I was like breathing on Peekaboo's shoulder as he played. It was really weird. But I was that close. And, and I fell in love. That's when I first went. That was my first ever tournament I've ever gone to. But I was watching Chanimals, Soda, and I think it was Talb. I think it was their last year competing in 2014. Maybe it wasn't. And they actually got knocked out. So they were the reigning world champs, if you didn't know. In 2013, these guys were unbelievable. Chanimals, God, Warlock, Soda. If you don't know, Soda, not Soda Poppin' with an H at the end. He was like one of the most incredible players I've ever seen. I still to this day think about the play at BlizzCon where he went for a penance instead of a heal at like no mana and no health, and he got the kill back when dampening didn't exist. And incredible plays like that from Soda. And then Talbadar. If you don't know who Talbadar is, you probably don't want to talk PvP. He's like the Lord and Savior of Ellie Shamans and Shadow Priests. Anyway, this ungodly team that I was just a super big fan of faced a team, got hard countered, and then got knocked out. And then got knocked down to the lower bracket. And then they faced another team. They faced the actual same team that hard countered them, and they didn't have an answer. And Chanimals was like sitting with Venruki for hours trying to learn Mage last minute to try to avoid getting hard countered. And I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, man, I really wish that there was another player on the team so they didn't just get like, this one random team that, had their number didn't end their stop because they beat everyone else. And that's kind of where the 4-player rosters originated. But also that kind of made me start looking at some other formats, even back then. I was looking at League of Legends. I liked how Worlds worked, where the way that Worlds worked was a best of one and everyone placed each other, and that's kind of how they got seeded, and it eliminated only a handful. And I realized that World of Warcraft's arena is a very composition oriented, obviously. And to determine who's the best team, sometimes brackets don't cut it. Sometimes you need a higher data set to really understand who is overall a better team. And then there was other variables that I started considering, like mind games and things like that. When I started seeing the anticipation of players making it to LAN, they would see that one team that they struggled with all season and they would prep something. And I'm like, if there's only a format that could, incentivize players to mind game each other more, because that's really engaging and exciting and interesting. Or if there was a format that would, better ensure that we have the very best overall well-rounded teams, that would be, I think, ideal for WoW Arena, because it is such a composition-based format. And round robin just seemed like it fit all the way back then, and so I was a big proponent of it for years. We just never really ended up doing it, because it's a pretty big jump from a program design, from everything being open bracket, everything anyone can sign up at any time, to a like not necessarily a franchise league, but a league. That's a pretty big jump, not only in like financially, but also like that's something that, like, traditionally when we do formats, we don't like to change it up every single year, at least not like from a really high level. If that makes sense.
Something different had to be done, though.
The amount of time you have to put in to do a round robin is exponentially larger than a double elimination. Especially
exactly. But it's not exponentially larger than 6 double elimination. So as time went on, as we built our prize pools up, I think we started with no prize pool at all for our cups, and we built it up to 10,000. And then we built up our land prize pools. They originally were 50,000. Now they were 100,000. And then we started having 2 lands instead of 1 for each region, because there was mixed regions. And then obviously the BlizzCon prize pool got increased. And then finally we had the really large increase to $500,000 for our finals very recently. Once all these changes started happening, players were investing their time, and it was a volatile amount of money to earn, because you made it to LAN and you either earned it all or you earned like a very small portion of it. Because traditional, tournaments are very top heavy. And, for our ecosystem, I think it made a lot of sense, especially during COVID, that we parsed out that money to the top competitors throughout. And then when people actually come and compete in the circuit, there is first place earns 40 grand. Second place earns 30. Fourth is, 18, third is 24, so on and so forth. But obviously making it here, you have a guaranteed amount of cash, and then when you make it to the finals, there's another follow-up guaranteed amount of cash for even fourth place. And so if you're making first in all of these things, you're making close to, like, I don't know, 200,000 or something like that. But needless to say, we took the 500K, allocated it between 2 regions for COVID specifically, because we knew that we weren't going to have lands, and we knew that we couldn't have EU versus NA without a land. Just MS, it's just not something I wanted to touch. There's like the PTR, and there's like, we could like maybe have 1 game on NA, 1 game on EU. It's just too much money and too much prestige to do that. So we decided to have individual regional competitions and take that finals prize pool and split it up over a period of time where the cash might make a little bit more sense to the commitment, because there's no longer an open bracket to commit into. You just play a couple series a week, and that's your commitment.
Right.
So, David, sorry, I have to ask you a hard question though.
Please.
How does that factor with Oceanic and Australia? If you guys aren't concerned about the ping rate for EU versus NA, which I would say is substantially less than what people feel in Oceanic.
No, it's a fair question, and it's also an issue in Brazil as well. So when we're trying to consolidate what our program means, and we're trying to figure out how our program has its business justification, we really had to take a step back and see where we're investing and where we can better improve. And so one of the things that we took note on is that in years past, Oceanic, ANZ, also New Zealand, and even South America, they've all competed in the America's Cups. And by no means is it an equal playing field for most of these players. I mean, there's some players even in the US that have over 150 ping sometimes. And there's some players in Canada who have similar. I was about to say, like, Canada. So there's some players that have a more optimal competing location and internet service provider than others. And that's just kind of the nature of online competition's beast. But The big thing that I didn't want to do is I didn't want to exclude them. If they wanted to attend and still try to overcome some of those MS issues and some of those MS challenges, I didn't want to prevent them from competing. I still wanted to allow them to compete. And they've proven that they can overcome it. Like Chanimals is a perfect example. Unitas is a beautiful example as well. And
Absolutely.
I can't imagine that their MS is perfect. And I can't imagine that, they're going to have the most equal playing field in terms of MS with everyone else that they compete with. But I highly respect them for stepping up after we've become more North American and European focused, and showed that they're just as skilled to compete with the big dogs.
Yeah,
that's totally fair. Okay, I was just kind of curious because I remember you saying that last time, and coming up, I was like, just. Okay.
It's not an ideal circumstance, but the show must go on.
So, all right. So one other thing I have to ask. So I know primarily this year the BfA was always NAEU. That's always been the storyline this time, and we talked about that. We talked about that the last time you were here. But then I've been hearing that there's been some other tournaments going on over at China.
Mm-hmm.
But I think those are more classic stuff, right? Or is there another set of tournaments that are happening more regionally, but not per se globally acknowledged? Is that true?
Yes,
or?
absolutely. Okay. In Korea as well as China, and also a couple in Australia. Maybe I'm incorrect there. There's been one in Taiwan as well, where tournaments have been hosted by community organizers, and we've supported them. And there's definitely arena communities in a lot of these regions that are no longer a part of the AWC, but their participation has always been really, really low. So what I want to do and my wish to do is to basically go to all these regions and find the GCD of that region. I want to find an organizer that will ignite participation and bring passion back to arena in those communities to one day fold them back into a global program. Currently, with the participation that we had in the past, we couldn't even fill out a lot of brackets. But with that all being said, there is a passionate player base in China and in all these places. Like, for example, in China right now is very focused on Classic. Classic is their bread and butter. It is a phenomenon there. It's huge. And so there's a lot of Classic initiatives going on in China right now. But live arena tournaments are still happening. But there's a lot on the horizon that is being actively planned that I think is going to really light some fires under some asses. Sorry, you got to get that timestamp throughout the globe in the near future.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I like it. Heard it here first.
Little teaser.
Yeah. Dropping bombs.
Yeah. Cool.
Nice.
What's that going to look like? That
I can't say anything, man. I can't say anything.
Give me the juice. All right.
I would say keep your eyes and ears open.
All right. Well, you guys have that new Twitter feed, right? The WoW Esports Twitter feed.
Yep. Shout outs to Jessica Downey, aka Fist, for managing that Twitter. It is doing phenomenal.
Awesome.
I'm so pleased we have that now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. You guys definitely hired the right person.
I agree.
All right. Oh, wow. Okay. Sorry, I need to formulate something. Andallyn, do you have any thoughts or any questions? What are your thoughts towards what's coming up?
Yeah, so I think it looks wonderful. I think we've talked a little bit about this and a little bit more. But do you want to try to talk a little bit about some of the? Sorry, I was looking at the news. I'm sorry. My mind's in the news.
Not that far ahead.
Yeah, sure. So David, what's been the most challenging thing on other than the fact that, it's COVID and you can't do anything LAN and all that stuff's off the table. What's been the most challenging obstacle really for you and your team as you've tried to figure out how to make this the best possible arena season that it could be?
That's a list. I'll start at the top. At the top of the list, and by far and away, broadcasting remotely. We went from a control room that had switchers. It had graphics chroma key devices. It had huge audio mixers. It had standalone engineers focused on just playing musical tracks when it's apparent in the run of show. We had just a huge amount of physical capabilities that we had to kind of spin up a remote equivalent. And so we're toying with cloud services. We're toying with services that allow us to pipe. And I'm not going to speak too technically about a lot of this stuff because I'll show that I'm either too much of a nerd or too little of one. But realistically, shout out to Sia Steve. If you're from the Heroes community, you know that name well. He is our producer and he is our bubblegums and band-aids engineer as well. He makes shit happen. And sorry, 6:15. All right,
the man.
He's been absolutely a rock star, and so a lot of what we have to do is we basically are encoding things out, encoding things back in. So the simplest way that I could say it is, for example, if you're a streamer yourself and you're broadcasting, you're sending your feed to Twitch. Twitch then sends that out onto their platform and streams it for everyone. So what we were doing is we were having each observer send their feed to one location, a composite machine, if you will, and then we were sending those feeds mixed back to the talent, and then taking the talent feed back, and then syncing all of those feeds together so they're not delayed, and then spitting that back out to you, of course, mixing music, mixing graphics, mixing all of that together in basically all of our homes. So Matt's house, I'm sure, looks like a production studio now. Basically figuring that out and figuring it out quickly with no established other team doing it, and in vastly different scales. Like Overwatch League and Call of Duty have been doing it. We actually did it before them, and they took a lot of our learnings, specifically from Hearthstone. And they obviously have a much bigger scale show than us. And so trying to figure out how these different things work on a smaller scale was inspiring to watch. I was closely involved, but a lot of it was over my head. The GCD days did not prep me for that. Number 2 on the list, and then I'll end it there. It would definitely be getting everyone aware of what's going on. I know that we probably could do a better job at making sure that, hey, we have upcoming stuff, get excited about it and whatnot like that. But we're taking some really, really awesome steps forward to lay the foundation to do it correctly. And a big step of that was getting this Twitter up and going. Also, we have our new website where it already has our schedule there. I mean, if I'm anything like you guys, I'm imagining I am because we're all just WoW nerds. I don't necessarily go to websites and just refresh the schedule to see if it's been updated.
You don't do that?
I tend to go to my social media. I tend to go to what's trending. I tend to just play the game itself. And and I totally get when people, get caught off guard by the content coming up and because it wasn't on their news feeds. But that's what we're trying to do now. We're trying to make sure it is on your news feed. But not only that, it's on your news feed with a dope video. That makes you get nerd goosebumps.
Yeah, that's awesome. Wonderful. So if you are someone who's maybe caught some of the seeds, like you listened to somebody's stream and they were kind of murmuring about this, where's the best place, where's the best hub to go to be the most informed, or to say hey, I want to make sure I don't miss something like this again? What would you recommend?
You mean besides technically PvP?
For real, you guys are a phenomenal resource. You really are. Technically PvP, he's constantly retweeting the stuff that goes under the cracks. I'm retweeting it, sure, but only so many people follow me. I'm kind of in my bubble, but when you guys are able to help signal boost that, it's a big deal. So whenever you see Technically PvP tweet about something, or me or Brian, retweet it, and especially WoW Esports. If you aren't already following the WoW Esports Twitter, press that follow button ASAP.
Yes.
But that's one of the 3 platforms I would recommend. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on YouTube at youtube.com/Warcraft. All upcoming broadcasts are actually going to be released on that Twitter, and so you can actually set a reminder, and it'll notify you in your subscriber box when we go live. But last but certainly not least is worldofwarcraft.com/esports. That's going to have all the upcoming blog posts right at the top. So all the blog posts that were very recently released. So if we change a format, if we announce a viewer's guide, for example, coming out very, very soon, that's where it's gonna be, and that's where. So if it gets drowned by all the other Warcraft news on the news site, if you go to the worldofwarcraft.com/esports, it will filter just the World of Warcraft esports blog post at the very top there, and it'll also give you a schedule down below. So those are the 3 places. Follow us on WoW Esports. Follow us at youtube.com/Warcraft, and last but not least, head over to worldofwarcraft.com/esports if you're trying to find any additional information or you want to deep dive in those blog posts.
Nice.
Now, I noticed this year especially, you've been very active over on Reddit as well, posting a lot of stuff. Are you going to continue to do that, or is that just a when you have time, but not necessarily consistent?
Yes and yes. I do it in my free time, but I also am going to continue to do it. I think that, there's pockets of our community that are all kind of spread out. There's a Reddit community, and there's the forum community. Sometimes they don't overlap. And then there's also, the people who don't go on any of these online things. And then there's Discord communities. And so basically what I try to do is I try to reach out to all these communities who might be interested and bring them all together. Shout outs to Chad at MMO Champion, huge proponent of the Arena World Champion. He always embeds us when I ask. Really love that guy. Wowhead has always done fantastic articles. Shout out to DD for those articles on Wowhead, and also the updating on the WoW Esports Wikipedia.
Yeah.
But the Reddit articles are going to continue, and they're going to get better.
Nice.
And I'm not going to say anything more yet because I still don't know if I can I'm still learning the code. Have you ever dealt with the code of the Reddit posts? They're weird, man.
So
I think it's like a form of CSS, but not.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So there's this person that did this really cool post where they were listing all the people that were streaming, and then they're courteous enough to share that. Yeah. I know. and then they're courteous enough to share that, but they shared the code of it, and my mind almost melted.
Yeah, I haven't updated that in quite some time because. Honestly, one of the things that I was struggling with was, especially when Classic was blowing up, is I kind of missed watching Live Arena. And so trying to find the people who were playing Live Arena, I kind of started making my own Excel list. And I'm like, hey, well, probably someone else would enjoy this too. So I slapped it up on there, and I slowly upgraded it with, separating it by classes and also adding accolades. So that you're watching the 12-time rank 1 mage instead of just their name.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was this inspired me. So
listen, I will give you the source code to it right now if you want to take it over. I'd be more than happy to.
Dude,
I think it's still pinned on our World of PvP. So I'm going to update that as soon as the circuit is up and running and I can take a breather from it. I'll be doing some more updates on there because those are my people, the PvP peeps.
I hear you.
For sure.
All right, so
let's ask one more question I've got for you, and then we can move on to the one thing you would change, right? So David, this is a lot of people are on one side or another. They're either all in on esports, or they're just the WoW esports, that's kind of neat. They're not really super exposed to it. So, what's been the most rewarding, or the most just this was the best moment so far of this circuit for you as someone who's kind of leading the charge and really trying to plant a banner here and make this better than it's ever been, and that's not just you but your whole team as well. But for you, what's been the most the most yes moment? Gosh,
give me a second.
Yeah,
there's been a lot. It's Since we've converted to a round robin, we've had a lot of org interest. I mean, I would never
Really?
have believed that. I mean, if we look at the current orgs in North America right now, we have Golden Guardians, we have Unitas, we have Cloud9, we have Space Station Gaming, we have Charlotte Phoenix, and of course the most prestigious org, Meow Meow Kitty Cats.
Yes.
I can't imagine Method
Love
Black and Method Orange are going to stay unsponsored long. I mean, both of them ludicrous powerhouses of competitors while also having a fantastic following and personality. I and Wildcard Gaming, Diablos. I mean, the list goes on. I think that I think there's a little bit inside of me that still feels like I want to make sure all of the arena players are taken care of, sponsored and financially supported for all of the gameplay that they put in, not only in the AWC but also GCD. I mean, these guys were competing in my tournaments before I had prize pools, so it's all one team, one dream. And when I say one team, I'm not even just talking about the brilliant people who are on the WoW Esports team, but also the people who are competing. And so seeing more and more people get picked up, like seeing Cloud9 pick up Venruki and Zico and Zaryu was freaking awesome. Or sorry, Zaryu's TSM, and just seeing the PvP community in general flourish is awesome. I was just on Amazon the other day because I was talking to Technically PvP about buying some streamer lights because I was going to start streaming again. And I was on Amazon, and I go to the Corsair page, and I actually see on the top banner of the Corsair page is a looping video of Method Black winning BlizzCon because they're sponsored by Corsair, and or were sponsored by Corsair. And I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, that's insane. Like, have you that first time that you went to Best Buy and you picked up that box and you saw Bajira's face, and you're like, whoa. Yeah. My little circle, my little corner of the internet's not necessarily a little corner of the internet anymore, and my philosophy when it comes to the PvP community and our tournaments have always been it's a long game. Like, stamina is the name of the game. I'm not necessarily looking to pop up a tournament that's gonna get a whole bunch of like $40 million tournament or whatever. You see those pop up and then they kind of go away after a while without ludicrous amounts of injection to keep that going. And I want something genuine. I want something that the whole community can be a part of. And I think esports comes with a weird connotation connected to it now. Whenever you hear esports, you think, oh, it's a franchise. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. In a lot of ways, our tournaments are just a celebration of the top players within our community. And it's not necessarily, the end all be all of making it financially or this or that, but it's something we all share a passion towards. And I want to continue to cultivate that and provide incentives for people to continue to be a part of it, maybe even make some money from it.
Right.
Did that even answer the question? I don't even know. That was pretty good though.
That was like the nice 3-minute elevator speech. That was just like, yes, everyone's ready to go.
Off the cuff, not written down.
Yeah.
Wow.
Definitely prepared.
I think just listening to that, I will say, I think we've seen more longevity of organizations continuing to be sponsors over a whole season.
Years. Yeah.
Over multiple seasons, in fact, than we've seen in years. Where before it was always a team would grow and they'd prove themselves, and then right before BlizzCon, they get sponsored, only to wear some jerseys up on stage. January would hit, all of a sudden they weren't sponsored again.
And you'd be like, who's that team? And you're like, oh, it's those guys. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I love when these orgs jump in and they commit to these guys.
Yes.
And, it's interesting. The orgs that come in and are committed to these players, the orgs that come in who are there long-term with them and want to not only understand the game so they can better support them, those are the orgs that tend to also be just more successful in the business in general. Yeah. Cloud9, when they first joined, I was blown away by the support that they provided their players. And that's the type of organizations I want our programs to encourage to get involved. those are the type of people. I'm getting a phone call. Nope, thank you. Those are the type of people that I want involved, because they not only are going to bring value to us, but they're going to collaborate with us, and we're going to be able to grow together. And they also bring a lot of viewers from their other games, which is super cool, because I think that if people gave WoW PvP a chance, and they, started to download some of the things that are going on and understand and educate themselves, I think that most esport fans would tend to enjoy it if they knew what was going on. So getting past that barrier to entry is my job.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's a hard job.
I never considered the fact that an organization needed to understand, like, it makes sense. Like, you'd want to understand what the people that you're trying to support are doing and why they're doing that. But the fact that somebody would support somebody without understanding that first kind of boggles my mind. Like, I would never consider trying to, like, as a person that watches hockey all the time or baseball all the time, going and suddenly like, oh, I'm going to sponsor that cricket team. I have no idea what that sport is, but it looks kind of like baseball, so I'm going to support it.
Yeah.
Like,
it's cool and kind of weird in a sense, because a lot of times it's like the same way that they probably paid for like a poster to be up in the background of that baseball game. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, there's a Geico poster right there. I don't really know what that means, but I guess Geico is now in my mind share. And then in this podcast mind share. But you know what I mean?
Wait a second.
So I guess it's working.
Geico,
But that's kind of how for real, pick these guys up. That's kind of how I imagine.
Save 5% on your next podcast.
In 15 minutes or less. Yeah, that's right.
So that's kind of how I imagined like these teams that got picked up for one-offs. It's like, oh, this is a real estate for exposure for a single event.
Yeah.
But I mean, our players deserve a partner that will support them, because they're putting in the work. They're giving us incredible gameplay, and I want to continue to incentivize them to do that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. I won't go too much into that.
That's great. So why don't we roll on into the one thing you would change, which is,
That's exactly. You read my
the
mind,
one thing I would
buddy.
change.
It's nothing that you're no stranger to this, David. So but for everyone listening who may be here for the first time, every episode will feature the one thing you would change, where we take our subject of analysis and we say, you have an unlimited budget. Anything can happen. You can do whatever you want as long as it's possible. All right? So what is the one thing you would change about BfA Esports? Gerissar, you want to go first?
Almost over.
Hindsight is 2020. Can we say that? I don't know. I don't know if that's a kosher saying anymore. The hindsight's 2020, but you got a little bit of hindsight here, right? Yeah. So maybe you
a lot of it
are not as blindsided by this question as some of our other times we've been.
I got something.
Okay.
I want a LinkedIn for esports. I want a place where players can go and sell themselves, and then organizations can find what they want and pick them up, and so then they're not having to resort to calling people out in social media, sending blind emails in the prayer and the hope that it gets picked amongst all the other stuff that's being sent to the same
You're
inbox.
correct, sir.
Yeah. Okay, you're gonna have to stop talking about this. I'm gonna call my investors. Like,
no one take it.
I want to see a website where a person can create a profile, present themselves, what they can provide in esports, and I think now is the time. I think if somebody could do this, I think this would be an amazing thing, because of
weird.
where esports is coming up to this. Because the only thing besides that is there's going to be organizations that are going to be standing up, just like there are in regular sports, of talent scouts, and then taking a person for a cut of their proceeds or whatever their winnings are to then find them these supports, as you would see in regular sports.
Yeah,
but
oftentimes the struggle is to make it that's the accessibility of that really intrigues me, because one of the problems that we're running into right now, and it's not really a problem per se because they've gotten a lot better about it, but a player who dedicates themselves to their craft, they dedicate themselves to being the best player in the world, there isn't additional bandwidth in their mental to be like, oh, I need to present myself. Oh, I need to like make a portfolio and like sell myself. Like that's a completely different skill. And so having these players like, hey, you also need another skill set if you can't just be good at the game. You have to be personality. You have to be building a brand. You have to have a narrative behind you. Those are things that are super overwhelming to, some nerd who dreamed of being on the big stage one day. Exactly. And so having a platform to make an easy to understand and easy to create portfolio, you got something there, man. For real.
Yeah.
All right, I'm done for the year.
Those are some tough shoes to fill there, Gerissar. All right, I'll take it next here.
Next? Yeah, you go next. I still got one.
All right, just kind of give me the nudge when you're all set.
Don't
so here's the thing. Here's the one thing I would change. I would think it would be awesome because, so like for me, I have a lot of my friends who are like the WoW Esports fans, right? They're into it, and then I have a lot of friends that are just like, oh yeah, you do that thing that's like, what is it? Like Esports? Is the E capitalized? I don't know. Like, so it's like I think it'd be really cool. And these people play WoW.
What's that foosball?
I think it'd be really cool is if you could actually like. So I'm a huge college football fan. Like that runs in my blood. It'd be so cool if you could almost have an in-game like tailgate to where you could actually go into the arena, like into Gurabashi or something, and you could like in-game with your characters like buy popcorn and stuff like that, or like place bets. I don't know, like the wagering. Maybe that's not kosher, but we can exclude that part. But it'd be really cool if you could almost sit in the stands with your characters and watch it unfold, or like click in between and actually get the live stream actually embedded into your screen. I think that'd be awesome. You could watch it with friends.
That would be amazing.
Dude, you totally stole mine, kind of. Okay.
You didn't have one.
I should have went second. But no, for real. The biggest thing that I want to, when I look at the esports ecosystem, I talk about esports having like, this connotation connected to it, because it totally does. And we're constantly comparing ourselves. Oh, that game does this. Oh, that game has this prize pool. And I'm almost like, well, I'm just going to focus on what I can do and how we can improve. And for me, that means working with our strengths. And our strengths of our community is that we have an MMORPG, arguably the most successful one in history, that encourages socialization and encourages community. And that's really what drove me to the game. It was an escape for me as a kid. I was like bad at school and various other things. I played football, but I just didn't necessarily fit in, And I would often play games, and I met my wife when I was like 16 online. And, I met a lot of my long-term friends online, and the community has kind of meant everything. And I think there's a lot of us like that. I think there's a lot of us who really cherish not just the pixels in the game and not just that item to obtain, but also the people that we met. And I know that's kind of a cliche, but that's the strength that we have that no other or very few other esports have to the same level. I know a lot of other esports have that community, but we've started that, man. The World of Warcraft's community is unlike any other, and it's strong. And I want to tap into that somehow. And I think that you mentioned a perfect way to do that in the game that we all love. And like, how many of you guys have just like blown around your favorite zone with someone that you like, one of your best friends, and just like hung out somewhere? Yeah. Or like, oh, there's like that broken ship in Burning Crusade, and I think it was like, what was the northern zone that was all like spacey and purple? There was like a broken ship on a rock floating. Nether, whatever. Like, just hanging out there. There's like no quest to go there or anything. It's just cool and it's there. And then there's like the floating rocks in the Grand, and like, how many places did you just like screenshot with your friends because you're like, this is cool and I'm with my friends hanging out? We could do that for our tournaments.
You're getting called out.
Sorry, David, you just got called out by Zorbix in chat.
Netherstorm.
Yeah.
You know what,
Come on,
man?
man.
Listen, dude. I'm pretty sure I didn't even go there, man. I think I grinded to max level. Anyway.
Dude, our spot was up. My guild, we would host duel tournaments, way back in the day in this little like spot like in Stormwind. If you went up behind, there's like a big flat mountain area. Yes, that was our spot, man. We loved that.
Dude.
Yeah.
I remember there was also like, the exploding sheep area. I don't know when it got updated, but it's near Stormwind. There's like a plateau of sheeps. There's this one random robotic sheep that explodes if you attack it. Anyway, it was like the best spot to hang out because back then you couldn't fly over there. So you had to do some weird rocket boots into like a glider thing and get there. And it made you feel special. And I remember there's people who would get on top of Ironforge, like Hordes, and like there would be like no light there, so all you'd see is like their glowing eyes, but they would hang out there. And that sense of community, that sense of like being present in that moment in the game. I mean, how many of us nowadays like play a game, boot up a game, especially the competitive, who are just like focused on their goals in the game instead of being present in the game?
Classic was so like refreshing. That's and that's really what I think was the most beautiful part about all that is it kind of was like that nice reminder of like, guys, why are you playing this game? We got a chance to go and just like hit classic like the way we would retail, and it was like, wait a second, that wasn't really a classic experience, and not to go off down the whole
take your time,
but
yep. And it forces you to take your time. That was some of the things that I've really enjoyed about Classic is that I started playing the auction house and stuff like that. And like, it's you're supposed to find the details in it. You're supposed to take your time with it and honestly enjoy the presence of whoever you're playing with. And I want to tap into that. I want to bottle and sell it and become a rich man. That's what I want to do. Not really. That made me sound horrible, but you know what I'm saying.
Rich in fulfillment. Yes.
I want to build. I want to grow it. I want to grow and share what we all know to love now.
Yeah. So, two things. One, apparently the sheep is still there. The sheep is still there.
Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
And
I think it's really easy to get there now, though, because you just fly there.
Yeah,
it's not special.
Yeah. And the other thing is, so there. I don't know if you guys know there was an event several months ago in Fortnite where a rapper was
Travis
invited,
Scott.
and my son, he made me actually download the game, install it onto my laptop just so he could go there and watch it.
Yeah, man.
So
those events are popping off. There was another event very similar to in Fortnite with I want to say T-Pain. No, I think it was like Khaled or something. Not DJ Khaled, just Khaled. And that was streamed on Instagram.
But yeah, so either way, I mean, like people are streaming and everything, but I think Andallyn, I think you're definitely onto something there. Where if something like that could show up in a PvP area, like Gurabashi Arena, would be amazing. I think it's totally situated for that. Or even if it's just in a main city.
Yeah.
I would love to do that. I'd love to be in general chat, in a city general chat, talking about this with people that are invested in the game, still invested in the game, still playing it, and not. I love Twitch chat. I do,
dude.
But
we were the first Travis Scott, and wow, dude, Lord Kazakh running through Stormwind was the first time that those events. That was. Were you guys there for that? I don't know if you were, but people would kite Lord Kazakh to Stormwind, and he would just like fling you in the air. It'd be terrifying. I mean, WoW was built for stuff like that, but I don't think I'd ever want to see like a Travis Scott in WoW. I'd want something very like lore driven. Like I don't want to be pulled out of my immersion. I want to be. I want to be dripping in it to the point where it's part of it.
Yeah.
You know.
I like that. I like the idea of knowing that if I can go to a place at a certain time and I could watch the Arena World Cup, like on like a screen show up, like I don't know, like the gnomes are able to, the portal opens up and suddenly it turns into a screen and I'm watching.
Do you guys remember
Diablo's fight? I don't know.
Do you remember when they
Rockstar Gaming.
implemented? Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah. Do you remember when they implemented the Ring of Valor
Yeah.
in Orgrimmar, and then like we got to see like what was it, Thrall versus Garrosh or something? There was like an epic like cinematic duel that we watched from the stands of the Ring of
Yeah.
Valor. And I mean, there's no reason why the top competitors can't just be the most fierce players or the most fierce combatants of Azeroth.
Yeah.
We can mix
That'd be
it up.
amazing.
There might not be any brand specific, like very obvious branding of like each team.
Sure.
No reason why. I mean, because at the end of the day, they're playing their
yeah.
characters and they're playing in game.
Queen in chat brings up a point. I mean, Brawlers Guild already has it where you can spectate.
Yeah.
Doing the
Brawlers
game.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly.
I think
right.
our next step, man, is let's just get more people tuning in, get more people in the community, and
Right.
that's just only going to form more of an argument for why it should be there.
100%.
Exactly. Not MDI and AWC, not just
Of course.
individually.
Yep.
All right.
Shout out to the origin of MDI in chat, Zorbrix.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, Kyle. Hearts and
Man.
kisses.
All right.
David,
Let's
the one thing you would change is what?
Oh crap! I thought you.
Yeah, you thought you could slide out of
Oh, I
here.
totally forgot.
The one thing I would change about BfA Esports, to me, it kind of goes back to what we were touching on before, which is I want a hub.
Yeah.
I want a place where you want to learn about esports, you want to understand it more, where there's just a website where you can go and you can educate yourself on Arena and you can understand how our interface works. You can understand the player profiles, the team profiles, the brackets, the VODs. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Super Smash Brothers, but they have a fantastic community-driven VOD source where you can just click on, I want to watch Fox games, and it will pull up every Fox game on that tournament.
wow.
You know what I mean? So if you're like a Assassination Rogue, you'd be like every Assassination Rogue VOD, and I can just click it and it would timestamp to that YouTube video. I have a really big pie in the sky. I always have huge goals, and I always shoot for them.
Yep.
That's what I would want. Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. That's wonderful.
Totally
doable too. I don't think
if
it's
I
that
had the
high.
time and the knowledge, I would love to. But I have neither. And I have thoughts and dreams, and they occasionally get shattered. But hey, if anything,
all built into a similar API and needs a platform to be able to consolidate all this information, so you're not like rewriting it every single time a tournament happens. What if once the bracket completes, it populates those player profiles automatically?
Oh my gosh!
What
I
if
love that.
the draft website that we use built into the website and like automatically populated it? So when WizK presses Shadow Priest, it updates, hey, his Shadow Priest play percentage has increased. That's really where you need to get it to. Because updating it manually is just it's not gonna work long term.
No. Oh, can I do one more since Winston's not here?
Sure. I don't know. You make the rules, man, not me.
I want perpetual that the GCD the overlay that shows what all the talents are and what the gear is and everything.
Yeah.
I want it to be perpetual to the VODs, not just on the live only.
Solid. That's solid. That would be also connected to the platform that I mentioned. Yeah.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
That would be slick.
So many dreams. Okay.
Alrighty.
Well, let's why don't we get through the news here and talk about what's been happening lately, and then we can let everybody say goodbye and spend the rest of our evenings with our families.
Let's do it.
All right. Who ordered up an extra large can of whoop ass?
All right. So let's see. For the news, we have a nice little bit of hot fixes here coming in from August the 13th, just allowing Zandalori trolls to accept the Argent Tournament Quest. Fixed. Did we also have some PvP changes in here, Gerissar, that you know of?
So the biggest one was, and it was kind of, I think COVID was a bit of an oopsies. There was the Comp Stomp Brawl ended up making its way back into the brawl rotation for some reason.
Mhm.
It's been removed again. It's back to Temple. It was the Temple of Hot Mogu. That was is that 2 weeks ago? It would have been like around the same time that we're doing our last podcast. But it was a pretty. It seemed like a big Oopsies. Comp Stomp. There seems to be an issue with it. Not only is it like a super easy win, but I think it also provides way too much currency for it. I think it's giving echoes when it's not supposed to, or eyes or whatever. Anyways, so it's been removed again. It will not return again until Shadowlands. So it's unfortunate. I know Mortai in chat, he really loves that one. So this is a shout out to him, because when it showed up, he actually DM'd me directly. He's like, "Oh my god, get in! It's on!" And I went in, and it was gone. I'm like, "Oh, sad panda, sad Pandarian." Other than that, that was about it for PvP. I think the only thing else that was PvP centric was some of the changes that happened in Classic around the opening of AQ, because of some of the stuff that was happening in game. Hey, did you see some of this stuff on the beta there, Andallyn? I know got beta access finally.
My favorite thing was how they added in Rekful, the actual. He's now a rogue trainer in Stormwind. So that's just. It's just. I'm getting chills right now just talking about this, but it's such an. I think it was the best thing that they could have done. It was such a good move on Blizzard's end. It feels right, and he's even got the I can't remember the exact set of gear, because I'm not, again, like David said, it either shows me how
Vengeful.
Yeah, the Vengeful. Yeah, he's got his set of gear, his gladiator gear, and and you got a little bit of chat interaction. He doesn't say anything back, but he's just like, hey, it's good to see you again, you know.
If you hug him, he'll hug you back.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it's really cool.
And he only trains subtlety rogues, apparently.
He doesn't train assassination,
That's
rather.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, that was it. My apologies. Yeah. When you click on him, I think he does actually, but at the top it says I only train subtlety. Yeah.
There's a really famous screenshot of him at, like, I don't even know, he's probably like 3,100 rating or something crazy, and he's like talking to his rogue trainer, and he hasn't, that was back when, like, it was the ranks of each spell, and he had full ranks of Mutilate not learned yet. He was like 3,100 rating. He refused to take the ability. It was incredible. Dude was the absolute, miss him dearly.
Yeah,
he was a god.
He was.
Okay. The other thing I thought, which was pretty good, so over on beta, we know that we got the PvP vendor, and there's been some looks at what the gear looks like on that. But recently, the devs added some other items, not just gear, but now there's conduits, and PvP specific legendary recipes are now available for purchase for honor points or honor currency on the vendor. And with that means, so we talked recently that the trinket, adaptation, and relentless are now removed as PvP talents, or are turning back to actual items. So as far as I understand, the PvP trinket is still a trinket, but adaptation and relentless, or just relentless, is now a recipe you can create a legendary item with. Gotcha. And you can purchase that, as well as a slew of other legendary traits. So if you guys want, go over to I found the news on Wowhead, because that's where all the data mining is coming from that I'm looking at.
Right.
But there's some interesting choices there. I'd say some are super cool, and some are like, yeah, that's kind of niche, that's kind of fun, that's kind of cool. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, have you guys heard of this guy named Nick Berg?
Yes.
This guy at Guide on Twitter.
Guy D.
Guy D? Yeah. That guy.
I'm very familiar with him.
That guy. So apparently he's been making videos for you there, David.
Indeed. He's been doing a phenomenal job.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean,
oh my gosh, they've been amazing.
I've been an absolute fan of his work for quite a while now. The original video that caught my eye was The Legend of Sea-Doo. If you haven't seen that video, highly recommend that you do. And then also follow up. He had made a follow-up video to that as well. But I think it's The Legend of Sea-Doo, his final chance or something. Sea-Doo's last chance.
Yeah.
Phenomenal videos. Gave me goosebumps. And there's so much narrative and storylines within our community. I mean, the AWC is going into its, what is it, the 13th year that it's been on? Like a huge amount of history. And players that have been competing in like the original seasons of it are still competing. So when you have that history, you know, sometimes you can take it for granted. If you're a super hardcore fan like myself, you learned about all these nuanced situations, like for example, Zuniaki and Hydra. They're both priests who kind of have some bad blood. They did some sketchy stuff to each other in the past, but are both priests in competing in a not necessarily the best meta for them. And they're still not 100% cool with each other. And so that makes these matchups and these mind games even more difficult to understand and even more interesting.
The Sea-Doo
and so,
and Jamili was the...
Yeah, Sea-Doo and Jamili is a fan. I mean, the GCD Pro League #4, or no, the finals, GPL finals, it was like 2-2. And I think Sea-Doo Jamili lagged out. And per the rule, because like there were so many situations where people were lagging out and then waiting, and then another team had an advantage in dampening. Our online rules had to be strict and say, you know, just play to win always.
Yep.
So CD's team played to win, and Jamili was pissed to say the least. And I mean, there's that, and then that. I mean, that turned into a lot of tweets. I won't go into those, but there's just a lot of history. All these players, they've competed against each other for years. They know how each other tick. They know how each other play. And when you're at that high echelon, there's so much creativity involved that these guys, they're on another level of mind games. And the idea of picking up Guide was to be able to, illuminate some of these really interesting things that are going on behind the scenes that the most of our fans don't know about. And so, like, for example, the move and how it came to be and what it's doing for our community. I mean, if you're part of the move, it's awesome. But if you're just watching it from the outside, maybe as a PvE or something, you're like, what even is this? And so that video kind of touches on that. But not only that, but like Waz and Raikou have had like a relationship forever. They're a rogue mage. And then like Chaz was like, the goofy addition to their team that brought those two knuckleheads down and, situated them correctly. There's a lot more stories that I want to bring to light. And I think Nick, aka at the guide on Twitter, make sure to hit him up and follow him. He is a fantastic artist and he's brilliant at editing, and I plan on having a really long, awesome relationship working with him.
Yeah.
Awesome. So the two videos that he's already released are to you guys. There's links for those in the show notes. Highly recommend if you haven't seen them already, go check them out. Phenomenal. I almost wish they were longer. Like, I feel like there's more story there, but
there's so much story.
Yeah. But editing is actually a thing. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It
brings it in.
Attention span is a thing too. Like,
true.
As much as our hardcore fandom will watch a 3-hour-long documentary on why Peekaboo made the move, a lot of people might not. But that doesn't necessarily mean we won't touch on it. It just means that they'll come out in short form factor as time goes on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is good. Speaking of short form factor, there's also the top 5 VODs from the AWC Cups you guys have put out. So you guys put out Cup 1 almost immediately, and then it was like you guys decided to hold off. Which
we held off on everything.
I was a little pissed. No, I'm not gonna lie.
Sorry, man.
But it's okay. But
the goal is
4 Cup.
Yeah. The goal is to release them ASAP in the future.
Yep.
I truly hope you do, because those are amazing. I love them. I love them when you guys did them before, and now they're being done again. So. Finally, those are all out. Links for those in the show notes. Again, highly recommend you go check them out. they're phenomenal. Like there's some. Quick question: Who picks those? Is it like by committee, or is it like just one person going this?
It's a little bit of a collab.
Okay.
It's the internal WoW Esports team and the editor. Yeah.
All right.
But I mean, if you have recommendations to a top 5 play that you think should make the list, make sure to tweet at WoW Esports and let us know. Send us a link to the timestamp in the VOD or give us a clip, and we'll consider it for sure.
Very nice.
Good to
Yeah,
know.
the more the merrier. If you think that you could find better plays than what we're putting together, please send them to us, because that's all we want to do. Is we want to make sure that we have the coolest plays shown.
I totally makes sense. I will definitely start doing that.
Yeah. It's hard to clip on YouTube, but send us the timestamp. That works too.
Yeah.
Let you
Yeah, I
guys do
find
the
that's
legwork,
easiest.
right? Yeah.
Might have to wait for the VOD to fully load. Something to note, however, is even though that you're like watching the full broadcast and the VOD on YouTube is not fully loaded because you have to wait for it to process once you're done streaming, we're actually releasing each individual match quite quickly after it happens. So if you
Yes.
go to our playlists on youtube.com/warcraft and you go to the playlist tab, you'll see the latest week of the circuit, and you'll be able to look at each individual series there in a VOD, and you can send us the timestamp of those videos, and those will work almost immediately.
Nice.
Yeah, those are being generated super fast.
Shout outs to our team for the fast turners on that. They're actually hand choosing the timestamps and cutting those out and uploading them.
Wow.
So
That's awesome.
It's meticulous, but that's some work right there.
what you gotta do.
That's right.
Yeah. Do what you gotta do.
I got a couple of things I can allude to for the rest of the week, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Or
I
do you have-
could have
please
not mind
don't.
anymore.
No, don't. Yeah, keep.
Okay.
Yeah, come on.
I don't know why OK Google's turning on again, but that's happening.
It's
So
like WikiLeaks.
later this week, we should have a blog post that's going to go over the teams that are competing, some of their channels, and also in that blog post, you will find a match schedule. So you'll be seeing when each team will be competing throughout the entire season. So you'll know exactly when that one matchup that you want to happen will happen.
Yeah.
You want to see Zuniaki versus Hydra? You'll find it in there. You want to know when Golden Guardians faces Method Orange or whatever they're calling themselves now? You'll find it in there. And so stay tuned for that blog post. We have one more hype trailer to be released. It's not a player profile. It's just to get hyped up over the circuit. So keep following at WoW Esports on Twitter, and we will be. I'm not going to say the last one. You have to wait. You have to follow the Twitter for the last.
That was
go.
okay. That's awesome though. The fact I can only imagine what the players feel like, because I know there's been times where they've had to like sit in game and sit for.
The players
hours
have actually
waiting.
had the match schedule for. They've had it since July. So
Yeah, but now they don't have to sit. Now they don't have to sit on TR realm for an hour and a half to 4 hours waiting for their opportunity to take
the
that.
funny
one.
thing is, I bet you they're all going to be, because they're going to be watching all the games,
Oh yeah,
studying their opponents to a T.
yeah,
Oh, yes.
fair. All right,
But no, I
Speaking
agree. I
of-
understand.
Speaking of knowing their opponents to a T, this one I have to ask the question of. This was interesting. So, Activision Blizzard hired the deputy Major League Baseball commissioner to lead their esports organization.
Right.
Now, this one I found interesting because
Right.
there's always been that conversation about bringing in standard sports people into esports, because it seemed like the two didn't seem very congruent. Now, initially, that was my first gut when I read this one, but then realizing that this person actually has had a level of other responsibilities under the MLB commission, and is also going to be taking on not just the esports, but also doing video and television production stuff.
Yeah, my take on this position, truthfully, is I think that this is the attitude that I've kind of had my whole life, and I think it's led me down the correct path. Is everyone can teach you something. Everyone.
Yes.
And this guy in particular, he seems to come from the background of traditional sports and traditional broadcast and traditional production. And as someone who's worked with esports specific production, who, made esports out of their basement, got their start moving CRTVs and the Elks Lodge or whatever. And then, now they're in like major stadiums and they're in control rooms and have worked as a technical director. But then also, working with people who have worked on our shows who, for example, our stage managers at BlizzCon did the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
They did, there's camera operators who, they did America's Got Talent. Our director did a whole bunch of other, a lot of things that I don't want to necessarily say on his behalf. So I got a chance to touch traditional sports and esport folks, and they all, no matter what their background, offer something different. And they offer some perspective that's different. And so as much as we get criticized at Blizzard, especially Owl and CDL, for being too like traditional sports, I think there's still a lot that we can learn from traditional sports. I mean, they figured out how to monetize their brands in a way that no one else in the world has monetized anything.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
True.
Like, they're real experts when it comes to the field of a lot of different things. And so I think it's important that we find a harmony between those who come from our grassroots community like us and those who have that experience. And I think that this is just, those weird situations where it's too like traditional sports and not enough esports. Those are just growing pains to the reality that esports is becoming more mainstream. That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really good take on that. Makes complete sense. I see this as being a really, just in that same type of vein. It could be a really, really neat opportunity here to see that growth, because as much as we love, it's really easy to be a fan. It's also, you also have to recognize there's also someone who's responsible for saying, okay, how do we make sure that next year this is still a thing,
Right.
And so
it's an investment.
Exactly. And so it's really, I think it's so different when you look at it from the actual perspective of like, okay, well, how do we grow the scene? How do we, nurture this type of thing and grow this? And meanwhile, me and other people are over here just like, we're just fans, like, oh yeah, I guess you got to do those things, right?
Yeah, I never get butthurt when I see people like, oh, Blizzard doing the old thing again or anything like that, because at the end of the day, the reason why they care is because they care about our games and our community. Like that's the reality of it. If you were really to boil it down, it's that we all just want to succeed and we want our shit to succeed. And so to do that, we need to be open-minded. And so I think that it's also important that we stay objective too, though. Someone who comes in with such a prestige like this, I think it's also important to monitor their performance, because I think there's a lot of people that go unmonitored, and maybe there's obviously always room to improve, but if you're not actually looking at everyone objectively, regardless of their experience or title, you're going to miss out on some rooms to improve.
Absolutely.
Totally.
So let's see. We've also got a tweet coming out from Oasis, who's a really well-known community here, a great community that's been
shout out to Cherry.
Yeah, Cherry. She's awesome. So Oasis is looking for some community leaders, anyone who has a passion for helping others and created a positive learning community. They said, going into Shadowlands, we'll be looking for RBG leaders, Mythic Plus teachers, and raid leaders. Faction does not matter, at least for now. So if that's something you might be interested in, they're a great community, tons of people, a really great opportunity for you, especially if you're trying to get to know a few more people and you want to be a part of that type of community thing like we were talking about earlier. It's such a great piece of this game that is quintessential to the experience of it.
I want to add something to that too. When it comes to volunteering your time to be a leader of any of these sort of things, you might think that's just a huge time commitment, and I don't think I'm ready for that. But I think it's important to also remember that there's a lot that you can earn from doing these types of positions. Obviously, it's not a pay, there's no compensation, but well, some of the people managing skills that I acquired from leading RBGs and pre-mades in Burning Crusade, I use today. Some of the people that I met online in those pre-mades, I'm working with today. And so you never know really who you're going to be running into. But if you're making a group of people who are like-minded and serious about, playing RBGs and are really passionate about the game, you may very well find yourself networking with people that could impact your life. And also, you're definitely going to be learning a lot of things about people managing in general, which is beneficial in all aspects of life.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
if you're on the fence about it, you think that you'd be good at it, you should just hit up Oasis and do it. At least try it.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, it's kind of on it's as you can provide too. It's not like if you sign up for it, you have to do it every week or something like that. I'm pretty sure. If anything, just ask. I mean, Cherry's always. I've never seen a time when Cherry's not online. She's like, it's insane. Like, maybe it's just like she's online at the same time I am, but she's always online. It seems like she's crazy.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Thanks, Mortai. I forgot about that. She also leads or is part of a college esports organization as well. So she's definitely.
Dude, Cherry's on the up and up. I have insider
she's
information, but Cherry is an awesome person, and I'm really happy she's part of the community. If you don't already know who she is, make sure to follow her on Twitter too.
Yeah,
indeed. So also, if you happen to want to write a guide on PvP, go over to Wowhead or follow Gerissar on Twitter. I have a link to the tweet.
Is that how you say her name? I've been saying her name wrong.
I've always called her Desiree.
Desiree?
I always called her. Our group of people call her Dee.
Yeah.
I just call her Dee too.
Yeah.
She told me once, and I think I forgot. Anyway, so she has been formatting the PvP guides over at Wowhead, and in preparation for Shadowlands, they're looking for writers. So, and it is paid writing. So, follow the link to on Twitter. I'll have that in the show notes, and by all means, contact her. And maybe your name could be the next title name on the Shadowland PvP guide for the spec of your choosing. Yeah. Okay.
Olivia Grace, the gal who originally hired me, who's the original product manager of WoW Esports, she got her start writing skill cap guides.
I remember that.
Everyone's got to start somewhere.
That's right.
Indeed. Just last two. So there's three last ones here on the news. We pretty much covered them. One, the new medals. You showed those off. Gems are bad. Okay.
Good.
No, maybe. We'll see. The other one is the talent lineup for the casters and the desks for the AWC finals here. So you'll notice it's the standard four you'd expect to see. Venruki, Supatis, Zico, and Aya, and unfortunately not Rich. So I'm pretty sure we mentioned that before.
Rich will be involved in the AWC in a different way than he ever has been before.
Oh,
maybe.
Little, we'll have to wait and see.
I kind of actually miss the guy. I do.
Me and Rich are good buds, man. Everything was amicable, and truthfully, Rich is an absolute character, and he speaks his mind always. And sometimes, that's not best for being the poster boy, if you will, for the program. But realistically, where he wanted to go and where we wanted to go was just two different directions, and we split amicably. Yeah. But that does not mean that I won't be working with him, because I will be very closely working with him for, I imagine, for quite a while. But in what capacity? You're gonna have to keep an eye on the Twitters.
Another teaser.
Dude, we got a lot on the horizon right now, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, as Supatis likes to say, we're kind of getting really close to a critical mass here with teasers.
Yeah.
Yes. So.
All right.
Alrighty.
Okay.
Yeah, I gave some juice. You
did.
That's true. So, any last juice you want to give as a shout out, David?
I would love to shout you guys out. Make sure to,
Aw.
if you're listening to this on the podcast, that's cool and all, but make sure to go over to twitch.tv/Warcraft Radio, hit the follow button, so when you're around, you can catch them live, you know? And not only that, but go over to the Warcraft Radio Twitter as well, and follow them there.
Much love, buddy. Much love.
Of course.
Andallyn, any shout-outs for you?
Shout out to my buddy Peter, who I've been farming gold with, who's should be coming home from work because we've still got about 75K to go today, so work's not over. So
Get her done. Get her done.
I met him coaching him in RBG 6 years ago.
It's
Nice.
awesome.
So that's just like what you were saying. It's
Oh, yeah.
the relationships is really like it's the currency of the rich man. It really is. So
Yep.
Yep.
Listen, go and lead an RBG group, and who knows, you might be getting along, boy. You never know, man.
There you go.
It's gonna take work.
I don't know if
the
my
guy-
math is correct on that, but
Yeah.
That's right.
Coach, Carrie, tomato. No. So, speaking of other shout-outs, I just want to give a quick shout-out again to our Patreons. So go over to, right there, right in Twitch chat, patreon.com/Warcraft Radio. And if you want to, you can give a one-time donation or, have a tip jar there. Or if you want to, you can, consistently send your money if you enjoy the content that we're providing there, as well as all the other wonderful podcasts and YouTubers, and oh my goodness, I just can't. It's a wide variety of different types of content there.
Yeah.
So go check us out there and all the other stuff. And also, if you really want to, you can sub to the Warcraft Radio Twitch stream. And again, right there. Thanks, Moku. I appreciate you. And there you go.
Yeah.
David, if
Sir.
people wanted to find you on the internet, where would they find you?
one place and one place only, twitter.com/Dmachine52. Actually, that's not true. Twitter.com/Dmachine52 is true. I should clarify. That is my Twitter. Feel free to follow me there. I give updates on program changes, when we go live, any juice that happens in the community. Like, for example, Facile, he is a EU hunter, and he basically called out all of NA for being bad, and so I saw all the NA players go ham on him.
Yep.
If you don't want to, dive deep into the dirty laundry of every arena competitor to find the juice, look no further than my Twitter. I got you covered. I'll just retweet that.
Follow
and I'm
you
also
and
gonna
have the alert.
yeah. And also make sure to follow me on Twitch. I'm gonna start streaming some Shadowlands beta.
Nice.
Probably starting tomorrow.
Nice.
Wonderful.
Nice.
Looking forward to that.
Looking
That's all I
forward to
got.
that. Indeed. Awesome.
Oh yeah,
Well,
it's
hey.
twitch.tv/Dmachine52. It's the same thing as my Twitter.
What's the 52
There you go.
from? What's the significance behind that?
Oh man, you opened a can of worms. You ready? So
ready.
the 52, my father, my brother, and my oldest brother all ran. We all were the same position in football,
Nice.
and we all got randomly allocated that number. And so by the time I actually had the same coach as my older brother. So by the time that I got there, he already had 52 reserved for me. So it's
Cool.
it's a number that's been in my family since. It's basically all of our numbers.
Nice.
It's just the number
Nice.
that we represent. Yeah.
And what position was that?
Nice.
Defensive. Oh my gosh.
Defensive.
What's the position where I'm behind the line and I run and I blitz every time? That's my position.
Yeah, defensive end.
Defensive end.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to say it.
Yeah.
Then I started saying linebacker.
I
We
played-
were all defensive.
I played DE tight end as well in growing up as well. So yeah, I feel you. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
I was really
All right.
bad at carrying the ball or holding the ball, but I was really good at hitting people.
That's right.
So.
Lighting them up.
You guys are better than me. I played no end.
That's how you got good at arenas. Lighting people up. That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Andallyn, can you help list off where the rest of the listeners can find us?
You just have to read it, Gerissar. Absolutely, guys. You can visit our Warcraft Radio website to find us and many other great shows. at warcraftradio.com. You can also contact us directly with a tweet to @technically_PvP or with an email at technicallypvp, one word, @gmail.com.
Indeed. And you can also join our discussions on the Warcraft Radio Discord. Links for all these are going to be in the show notes. I want to thank everyone for listening, and we'll chat with you next time. Good night, everybody.
Have a good night.